Hello world, it's your boy Tripple Rich and I'm back again. First of all, big ups to all my TikTok followers. We just hit 100 followers. Might not be a lot to other people, but it's huge to me. So thank you to each and every one of you. Also want to give a big ups to all my West Indian massive that might be watching this show today, because today we're talking about Clarks. So I know this one's going to be for you. So without further ado, let's go! So today we're going to talk about the Clarks Wallabees. We're going to give you some background history on the Clarks company. Then we're going to talk about how Jamaicans made the Wallabees cool. After that, we'll talk about New York scene, the 90s, how Wutang brought new life into the Wallabees. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how the shoe is perceived today. And I'll sprinkle some opinions as well as some memories about the shoe. So let's get into it. In 1825, the Clarks Company was founded by two Quaker brothers in Somerset, England. The company actually wasn't a shoe company at first. It was a sheepskin rug and blankets company. And it wasn't until 1828 that one of the brothers was like, hey, we can use some of the scraps from these blankets, turn them inside out, and make slippers. That was a hit amongst the rich people in England at the time, and they decided to go straight for shoes. Unfortunately, about 1860, the shoe company almost went bankrupt. And they kept it going on, but they went back to the roots of garments and blankets. They passed the company down along the lines, and one of the descendants, his last name was Clark, don't remember his first name, he came up with the desert boots in 1950. That was Clark's probably first ever hit shoe, and it's still a hit today. But we're here to talk about the Wallabees. That shoe came out in 1967. What's interesting about the shoe is Clarks was not the original designer of that shoe. It was originally by a company in Germany named Sioux, S-I-O-U-X, like the Indian tribe. They came out with this model called the Grasshopper. And it was doing pretty well in Germany, but Clarks wanted a piece of it. So they signed up a deal and they said, we're going to make our own version of the shoe and we're going to keep the name Grasshopper. So they did. The shoe wasn't an immediate success. So what happened was after that, they said, we need to find other emerging markets. So they outsourced to Jamaica as well as America. And once they got to America, they realized that the word grasshopper was already trademarked for a shoe. So they had to think about another name. Over a couple beers, one of the factory owners said, why don't we call the shoe the kangaroo? Another dude was like, no, the smaller one. And that's how we got the Wallabee. It's an amazing name, and whatever works, works, right? Once the shoe got to America, it started to become a hit. But it really wasn't until the 70s and 80s that this model took off. In the 70s and 80s, you had Jamaica, and in Jamaica you had something called the rude boy culture. What that is basically gangsters. These are the guys who are probably doing dirty work and also muscling people into things they might not want to do. The rumor has it is the reason why rude boys specifically love Clark shoes is they don't squeak. So you could get away with doing some dirt at nighttime. Either way, the rude boy culture was pervasive in the reggae culture. So as you know, Bob Marley and a bunch of other great artists like Barrington Levy, the reggae sound was starting to take over. Now what added to the Jamaican influence was they started to migrate. One, they started to migrate back to England. This was called the Windrush generation. Essentially, England needed more labor and they outsourced to Jamaica. So you had, even though the Jamaicans are coming from England, they went back to England to work. And what would happen is, because Clarks was originally founded there, these Jamaicans would go to Somerset where it all started. They would go to the Clarks outlets and then start bringing the shoe back to Jamaica. So you had this kind of back and forth between those two countries that was amazing. Now in the 90s, Wallabees came to the tri-state area. The number one supporter of Wallabees, I would say, is Ghostface Killah. Ghostface Killah, as well as Raekwon and the Wutang clan, they made the shoe popular and they made the shoe hip. Ghostface goes on to call himself the Wallabee champ on one of his songs, and if you are a huge Wutang fan, I believe it's Cuban Links, only built for Cuban Links, Raekwon's first album, track 11, Ice Glaciers. At the intro, Ghostface talks about what he wants to do to his Clark Wallabee. He says, I got crazy visions. I'm gonna dye the shoe here, and I'm gonna dye the shoe here, and come up with my own flavor.
Yo, what's up? Yeah, it's P-Tone in the house, you know what I mean? Still representing. Back in the days, you know what I'm saying, my favorite shoe was a Wallabee. A Wally. I used to go down to Canal Street, you know what I mean, and get it from one of the Chinese dudes over there. I take a fresh pair of cream leather, and here I tell them like, yo, turn this into a red and white pair, you know what I mean, or blue and cream, or burgundy and gray, and we used to flip them like that and just paint them. That was my culture.
That being said, I would say New York started to really embrace the Clark Wallabee, and the rest of the tri-state. But I really associate it as a New York shoe. Most people would say the first New Yorkers to wear Wallabees were Brooklyn Jamaicans. So you can connect the dots. Also, if you are interested more in the connection between Jamaicans and Clarks, there's this awesome book that I might just ask for Christmas myself. It's called Clarks in Jamaica. One historian literally has a 100+ page book with pictures talking about all the roots of Jamaica with Clarks, and the Wallabees for sure are in there. What I love about Clark so much, especially the Wallabees, is they really have not changed their design since day one. They have the understanding that trends come and go, and even if the shoe's not popular now, it'll come back in style. And you've seen that decade over decade. Let's talk about 2010s. I don't know how do you call that decade? 2010s? Anyway, you had a big revival of Clarks, especially in Jamaica, thanks to Vibe Cartel. You heard the song Clarks. Oh, where you get them new Clarks, the daddy? I could go on and on, but you know, copyrights and all that stuff. That song was so successful that they said the sales of Clarks in Jamaica around that time went up like 35%. As well as America. If you've been to any clubs, been to any house parties since 2010, you've heard that Clark song. It went so well that he made a Clarks 2 and 3. Also in the 2010s, a big, I would say, American moment is Breaking Bad. Anybody watch that show? I used to love that show. If you did, and you're a sneakerhead, you know Walter White always wore himself a pair of Clarks Wallabees. So it seems that every decade, since I would say the 60s and 70s, there's been a reason to love Clarks. And it doesn't stop there. Since then, you've had international appeal elsewhere. With hip-hop blowing up, you also had Asia, specifically Japan. Streetwear was blowing up in Japan, and the Clarks Wallabees were a part of this. You had Nigo, the owner of Bathing Ape. First, he did his own bootleg version, because if you know about Bape, they've done bootleg Air Force Ones, Dunks, and even Clarks. The Clarks version is called the Manhunt. And actually, last year, they did an official collab with Clarks, and it came out pretty well. I'm still thinking about getting a pair. But the shoe has international appeal, and I love how it is directly tied to different music genres. Think about your favorite streetwear brand. I can almost guarantee they've collabed with Clarks. Clarks has done so many collabs, and they continue to, that it's overwhelming, but it's also inspiring. From Supreme to, honestly, to Pokemon. I found some Pokemon Clarks that look pretty cool. As far as my opinions on the Clark Wallabee, I think it's a great shoe, especially when you want to get away from sneakers or you're not allowed to wear sneakers at your event. It's a really comfortable shoe that you can stand in all day. And there are some drawbacks, I would say. The way it's constructed, it's pretty thin from the midsole, so you got to be careful how you walk because you can roll the ankle. I've done it before. Usually it's not that bad, but still it's something to watch out for. As well as the gummy midsole, it is what makes the shoe comfortable. It's called a crepe midsole if you want to be specific. But it sticks to everything, so enjoy the clean, brand new look for the first 5 wears, but after that, it's going to start getting darker in sole. But don't worry, the shoe is not going to lose character. It's probably going to look better if you ask me. I've had this pair for about 10 years, and As dirty as they look now, they still look great on feet. And I definitely recommend that if you are looking to switch up your wardrobe, it'll make your outfit more mature right away. They also look great on men and women, and I would recommend that you go down a full size. Some people even go down a size and a half, similar to Chuck Taylor's, but it's a shoe that I think everybody should try at one point in their life. I would say my favorite memory, shout out to my boy Easy. Around the 2010s, let's say like 2012, we were thrifting boots. Easy picked up some Timberlands, and I found some sand suede Wallabees like this, but the high top version. We got Angelus suede paint, and I made my Clarks all purple. And I just thought it was just so unique. I still haven't seen that type of purple yet. And Clarks is known for putting out any color under the sun. Some of my friends have pink pairs. I've had a baby blue pair, but this purple pair just, it means a lot to me. So, and I did that because, shout out to Ghostface, thinking about his skits and how he would dye his shoe, I took notice and I did it myself. So I have a lot of memories with the shoe. The shoe is starting to get a little more expensive. It used to be about 80 to $100. Now they can be in a range of 160 to 250, depending on the collab, the color, the rarity. Either way, it's a shoe of quality. It'll last you for years and years because, I mean, the construction is just amazing. So, in conclusion, it's a great shoe. It's a high quality shoe. When you wear the shoe, you're going to be a person of culture because of all the decades of history that has happened with this shoe. Go out and get it. Tell them Rich sent you. This is Kick Talk. I don't even know what volume it is now because we're putting in work. So until then, I'm going to keep getting better, and I know you will too. Catch you later. Sneakers is